I need to start thinking that way. I need to step out and be a third party without feelings and look at myself and how I'm interacting here or what I'm doing here or how I'm doing here and say, would that be acceptable if I was my own boss? And if you're not doing that, then you're obviously never going to get to the next level. You just won't. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my expertise is in growing all sorts of medical companies. This isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. I'm just telling you how I did this. And I hope that helps you build your business, take ownership of your life, and be a better leader at home and at work. And if you're a medical entrepreneur, guys, I'd love to have you in our mastermind. Go to joincharismatics.com or go to my website, dralexspinoso.com, and you can find out all about that. You'll find tools, trainings, and a network of people who will help you build your medical business. And as always, I have Miss Amanda May here.
Hello, how are you today?
I'm excellent. You're all done up. You've got new haircut. You got this like flowy white kind of wedding dress-ish outfit on. It's cool. What's going on? What's the reinvention?
Oh, well, I mean, it's really fitting for today's podcast, actually, because we're going to talk about reinventing yourself. But yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of a journey the last couple years. Certainly pregnancy has a way of changing some things. But about 4 years ago, I decided to stop coloring my hair because my gray was coming in a little bit stronger than it was before. But it's like a silvery tinsel color. So it's a really pretty gray. And I was like, it looks nice, the contrast of that with the dark hair.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to stop coloring my hair and just like let it grow out. It's a very long process, like letting your gray hair grow out. It's like not for the faint of heart. Because there were many nights I was like, I'm coloring
Crying.
this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think over the last 4 years, it's been a little bit more of a, let me get back to the basics. And then after I found out I was pregnant, Botox filler, that kind of stuff stops. So, 2 years later, I was like, this is actually what I look like. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm aging okay.
I'm not like the crypt keeper after
This
this. Yeah.
isn't bad. So
Yeah,
just
there you go.
embracing, what I look like now and thinking about my daughter as she gets older. It's like, what were the models of women I saw growing up, and a lot of negative self-talk, was around me. And so I think it was just natural for me to think I needed to change everything to be prettier, extensions and nails and tons of makeup and all the things. And I just slowly started letting that stuff go and really embracing what I look like. So was it 2 weeks ago now? I got all my extensions taken out. My head feels like 10 pounds lighter.
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
this
Your
is
neck
great.
is like no neck problems
I can actually
anymore.
brush my hair.
There you go.
Yeah. And then I had him, cut about 12 inches off. So I'd cut a lot off, but now like my gray is fully grown out and I don't have any old color left. So it's a nice place to be. And that's what I want for Elia. I want her to love who she is and what she looks like and not feel like she has to somehow change all these things to fit some idea of beauty that's outside of just who she is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, you heard it
process.
straight from the horse's mouth, if you will. As you get older, embrace your cougar MILF, and you'll be fine. All right,
Right.
That's how it is. I think that's what the message is
So
you
I'm
were trying to do,
good
right?
then.
Yeah, is that
I'm
what you're trying?
doing
You're trying
good.
to reinvent the
Yeah.
cougar MILF.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going
What
to
are we
talk
doing?
about reinventing, which is great because I showed up on point today to talk about it.
There you go.
And that, it isn't like a one-time thing. It's something that there's a rhythm and you do over and over again. And what does it mean to grieve the old version of yourself? And is that okay? And, to think about this, maybe what you were before and how do you keep moving on past what was so that you can keep reinventing yourself in your personal and professional life, because it's how you show up, it's how you lead, it's how you handle pressure, all those things. We're going to dive into all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just business reinvention, personal reinvention, the way that you think, live, operate, lead, everything from top to bottom. And if you don't master the discipline of reinvention, and we call it in Genesis innovation as one of our core values, you're going to get stuck. Period. You're going to end up with a glass ceiling and you're going to hit it. And unless you try and reinvent and break through that, there's no way you're going to grow 100%.
Yeah. How many lifetimes do you feel like you've actually lived at this point?
Oh my God. That's kind of a strange question, but it's a really good question because I've thought about that specific question a few times, because of the fact I've lived so many lifetimes, and there was actually a great book, and it turned into an even better movie. I thought that was well played, called Big Fish, and I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, where the father is dying and he's on his deathbed, and he was a great storyteller, and at the end of the movie, his son starts telling this wild story, and you could see the father's eyes light up, and then you see his funeral and all the made up characters from his stories showed up at the end of the movie, and turns out it wasn't so much that he was making it up or embellishing his stories, that it was kind of just that he was telling the truth, and he had lived so many lives. And I always liked that idea of being that renaissance man where you kind of do everything, and if anybody had a comment about anything, you could either speak to it or speak or have experience in that field. So I love to do everything. So
Mm.
I've I have traveled the world. I've been to probably, I would say by now, almost close to, if not more than 30 countries. I've lived overseas. I've worked in different countries, and that was all before I left really medical school. I traveled throughout college, lived in different countries throughout medical school, lived in different countries, and I still think people should live different lifestyles. Meaning that I still think, in order to graduate high school, you should live in a foreign country for a year. Like, you
Mm.
should be forced to. It should be a requirement to live in foreign countries for a year.
Why is that? What do
I
you feel
think
like you got out of that?
Well, I think, well, one, it's very eye opening, and you realize in other countries, everybody says, "Oh, this country is terrible, and this country is this or that." We're not the best at medical care, yeah, and there's a lot of things that we're not the best at, and I think there's politics that play a lot in that, as well as some forms of, like, if you want to go deep into how the U.S. is run and the government is run, I think a lot of that's being cleared up now. But I think you start to see the rest of the world for what it is. You start to see people that are extremely happy with almost nothing.
Mhm.
You see people who care about each other. You see people who, death is not something to be feared in really any other country except for the US. Um, you see people who don't have social security, so they just contribute and work and help each other out as they get older, instead of just being like, well, I got this, retirement check when I'm done, sort
Mm.
of thing. Not that that's bad, but I think it has created a fucking lazy culture. 100% has. Um, I think you see people who take care of their elders while at the same time they respect everyone and have. I am all for capital punishment. Like, you want to stop somebody from doing something fucking stupid, punish them right there and there, or then and
Mhm.
there, and make that a part of society. They don't grow up thinking that all this is okay, and then later on, people complain that, oh, my family member got shot while he was robbing this store, and he shouldn't have been shot. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, he should have.
Yeah.
So it's just all those things. You see those in different countries, and you see what's possible, and you see what's available, and you
Mm.
see what's safe, and you realize, like, the US is amazing. It's a beautiful country. It's great, but there are things, I think, with any country that are bad and good. But having people grow up with this idea that this country sucks, or they're not able to do anything, or having that mindset, is all wiped completely off the table when you go to a third world country and you realize, well, that's what real oppression is like. That's what a real communist, country is like. That's what a real third world country is like. That's what happens, when people have dirt floors, and how they contribute to each other. This is what death is like, etc. And you really learn a lot of that. And I think that's extremely important, that
Mm.
really Americans in general, growing up in America and living in their fucking bubble, don't have at all.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say bubble because that where I'm going with I haven't not been to that many countries, but where I have traveled to, there's such a sense of community where I feel like
Mhm.
there's so much separation in the US. Probably why a lot of people are lonely, and then we're tied to like our social media accounts living in this like fantasy world
Mhm.
instead of like real true connection. Where that's what I noticed in other countries when I traveled was the sense of community. Like people went out to eat for lunch together, and moms were helping each other, and it was a real sense of community. People weren't uh, at least what my experience was, there wasn't a lot of people doing it alone. There was a lot more overlap with lifestyle. People sharing in the responsibility of, like you said, taking care of the elders, but also taking care of the kids. So, it's just is yeah, it's really good. I agree with you. And I think what that means is it's a lifestyle. Reinvention is a lifestyle. And that's what you're talking about. It's these different lifestyles that you can experience when you travel, that are very helpful in understanding maybe the things that we get attached to as we are building our life here in the US. And we go, you know, are we going to hold on to these old versions of ourselves, or are we going to go for something new? And I think letting go of the old version of ourselves takes a little bit of sacrifice, but it's a change because it's like, well, that used to work, but doesn't work anymore. So, where do you feel like there have been times in your life that you're like, I got to just let go of this because it just does not work for me anymore?
Any entrepreneur knows that as you grow in business, you're going to end up having to lose friends, family members, and I say lose, but it's more of an active cutting out of certain friends, certain family members, certain people around you that just will pull you back down. And that's every entrepreneur just has to get through that. And I don't think there's a single entrepreneur that hasn't cut out some friends, hasn't cut
Mhm.
out some families to get where they are today. There isn't a single one because there's always going to be somebody that tries to bring you back or pull you down or bring you to their level or say things like, "Oh, you're don't forget where you're from," or "You're too good for us." There's always going to be those types of people, and you have to leave those types of people behind. So, there's been times where I've told family like, "I just don't want to hang out with you anymore. You're becoming unbearable." So I don't give a shit about you being around or anything like that because you just can't be around. I don't want that. I've told people, friends that have been like, you're negative. I just don't want to be around you at all. Like I fucking don't. Like don't call, don't text. I don't want to be around you. Period. Um and that's just setting a boundary with those people. It's and removing those people. Now, like most entrepreneurs, my friends are in my businesses or on other entrepreneurs. That's about it. Like I don't have other friends, and we've talked about this where it's like as an entrepreneur, you don't have time for just friends and bullshit. I know they post on social media and Instagram the new studies that have come out where guys need at least one night or two nights out a week to for with their guy friends to be happy, and you need to go out and socialize as much as possible to be happy. And I think to a degree, maybe when you have more time and you're working on your business and connections, that could be true.
Mhm.
But those guys aren't fucking unless they're in your business, they're not fucking helping you do anything. They're really not. And guys and girls, they're not helping you do shit, like, other than waste time. Just like, okay, if you wanna do that, fine, but if you wanna act with a sense of urgency and build something great, you don't have time for that bullshit. You really don't. And most people treat reinvention when they have their back up against the wall and there's nothing else to do, like, they have to reinvent, but really those top
Mm.
performers, we're always looking to reinvent ourselves as much as possible. It's like, what's the next thing that I could get better at? What's the next thing I can improve at? So it's like a strategy of building yourself up to become that renaissance man and have every, base covered. What are the next things that I have to learn in order to build the business? I know the next things that I have to learn is really hiring people that are very good at marketing and learning what it means to be very good at marketing in Genesis and hiring really strong sales trainers and learning what it is to be a strong sales trainer and how often what are the um, programs that have to be put in place so that each one of those are reporting back to me as we grow. And
Mm-hmm.
as I grow in my CEO position, it's figuring out what they have to do in order for me to succeed in the business to move forward. So, learning about delegation while also making sure that I have that position covered if I needed to, in terms of learning what's necessary in order to evolve. And if you're not constantly evolving, if you're not growing, you're dying, period. And I think part of that is also our content team. And now Mason working with us directly on the content team is like, how do I utilize him to the best of his abilities? How do I get him to get to the next level as well?
Mm-hmm.
And he's very much a fire starter, but at the same time, a fire starter, if you're on a team, a fire starter might do this or that or this or that, even in your business, and it might not be the shit that you need. It might be like this idea or this idea or this idea, but it's like, I need you to fucking focus on this, or I need you to do this, or I need you to do this and be really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of entrepreneurs will go off and they'll say, "Oh, I got this great idea, and I want to do this, 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 and this." And it's like, yeah, let's just focus on this first and getting this done and making this successful, and then when you have cash flow, then you could do all those other fucking things, which are great, but you need money in order to do those things. And so entrepreneurs are like, well, I'm going to create this and that and this and that, and that's cool, like 12 years down the line. But what now is going to help you succeed and get to the next level? Like, what is the reinvention that you need to do right now in order for you to make money? Because I've worked with vendors who have said like, oh, we're redoing this part of the website and it's going to be great. And we're going to redo a landing page and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to remarket and we're going to rebrand ourselves and this, that, reinvent, 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 reinvent. But there's no second part to that. There is no like, okay, cool. You're going to reinvent and keep reinventing and keep reinventing. What about the fucking client? Have you thought about how you're going to get clients? Like, you should do that first before you continuously reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Like, succeed or work towards success or work towards something where you're getting money for what you're doing, and then you can reinvent yourself. You have to have something that's there first in order to fucking reinvent it. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of going through that right now with one of the things I'm going to back up a second and say one of the things I think that has been helpful for me with my personality in the whole idea of reinventing is I'm like the yes person. Like if I don't know something, I will figure it out. Like, yes, I'll do that. I don't know if I've ever actually told you no. Like if you're like, "Hey, can you do this thing?"
yeah.
Yes. Even if on the inside I'm like, "I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to figure out how to do that." Like I think that's been beneficial because it keeps me focused on learning and growing. And it's like, it's been good to stretch myself to learn different aspects of the business because I can have educated conversations now about those topics like email marketing. Like I know enough about email marketing to have a call with an email marketing company and give some direction. I don't have to be the expert, but because I've said yes on certain things, I now know uh, directionally how something should go. But which I think has been really, really good for me. So being willing to like grow and learn is a part of the reinvention process. And now it's a matter of like, we've got some new things on the horizon that we're working on and getting started with. And now I'm having to explore that again. Like, what does that reinvention look like? Well, to your point, uh, I'm not gonna really be thinking about anything but sales, like getting on the phone, having sales calls. And I'm in the middle of a program called Unblinded by Sean Callaghy. He's a very influential, like heart-based sales guy. And so I'm taking his sales training, and it's really about how to sell with influence and from the heart. So like it's really cool. I've pulled a lot already from that. But dialing back and
What's your
going,
best? What's your best since you've been going through it? What is your, I would say, best lesson so far?
so far,
Mm-hmm.
people do things for 3 reasons.
Okay.
They want more money,
All right.
they want more time,
Okay.
or they want to have more magical experiences in life.
That's great.
I love it.
That's so good.
It's so good. And he's got these like 7 levers of building to that. Because when you get to more disposable income, that's when you have more money, more time, or more magical experiences. So you have to get to more disposable income to really have all 3 of those things. And so, yeah, so the whole premise is like we're getting to the part now. It's how to sell with influence so that you can bring more to the bottom line, so you have more disposable income, so you can have the money, time, and magic. And one of the big things he's really stressing in it is more disposable income comes from more sales meetings. So like the more sales meetings you have, the more disposable income you're going to have. Obviously, you got to be good at selling, and we're getting into how to sell with influence. So that'll be what I learn next and what we get into next. But so that's really, when I think about reinventing myself, um, going from having my own locations to working more on a corporate level to now being focused more on driving sales to grow something so we can build and have other teams and and then focus on other aspects of marketing and relationship capital, but it's like I have to dial back and I have to go, okay, right now the most important thing for me to do is focus on selling.
Yep.
It's like I've spent many years saying yes, learning all these other aspects. All of those are going to come together at some point, but you gotta know when to just focus on the one thing that's going to grow the business too. So
Right.
we have the money to do all the other stuff. So, I'm in the middle of that as you're explaining. I'm going through that personally right now.
Right. 100%. I think if you're a manager in your company as well, and the CEO asks you to do something, or you're a leader in your company and the CEO asks you to do something, if it's quote unquote below your pay grade, people always tend to have this idea that, oh, I'm getting a demotion or that's a demoting position. You need to get that idea out of your fucking head right now. There is no job I wouldn't do in order to make sure that Genesis or any of my companies are successful.
Mhm.
No job I wouldn't do, down to fucking sitting at the front desk and checking people in. And so don't think so high and mighty of yourself that you can't fucking go back to exactly what you're talking about. Focus on the basics or going back to the positions that allow you to be successful in the first place in order to grow. And one of the things that we had to do in Genesis more recently is move people back from like regional positions or you know their quote unquote executive positions down to back to sales positions because they're really good at sales in order to drive the clinics back up. And they were like, well, that's, I don't want to go back to sales. I don't want to get demoted. And I was like, that's the worst. That's the wrong fucking attitude you need to have. It's about doing what you need to do in order for the business to be successful. And if you do that, you're going to be rewarded. And if you don't fucking do that, well, now I know that you're not going to be somebody that I can count on to get in that position and do what's needed in order to grow.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to take those steps back in order to improve yourself. That's just part of life.
And we've had those conversations like, if you can't do that well, how do you build a team that can do that well?
Absolutely.
Not
right.
that you have to be a
You're right.
professional email marketer to have a team that can kill it in email marketing, but
Right.
you have to be able to know it
Yep. You have
and
to be
do
able
it
to
and be
speak to it.
willing to do it when it's needed.
You
Yeah.
have to be able to speak to it. 100% yes.
I think one of the things that I struggled with for the first couple years that I was here in Texas was that old version of myself from Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And what that looked like and what my life looked like. And, the house I lived in or the time freedom I had or all the travel I did, also pre second baby. So life changes. But, I think and I've heard that it's a little bit harder for women to, kind of have that level of change. You know, men I think can do that a little easier, maybe just going back from the days of men being out foraging and having to be out doing that,
Hmm.
and women being homemakers. Um, but it's like really letting go of that and going, that's just not me anymore. And that's okay. And embracing this new version of yourself. And you have to be willing really to let go of any old idea that you have, any old label that you've put on yourself about success, or I think we label ourselves, in ways that keep us stuck. And it's like, yeah, I've been in beauty for a long time, but my sister actually said this to me on the phone the other day. She said, you were always going to be more than just a permanent makeup artist.
Hmm.
So even though I had success in that, it's like, even she said, like, you were always going to be more than that, and so letting go of that label so that you can embrace what's new and what's coming, and not, and just not hold on to things that are no longer useful.
Yeah, and as we grow up, we feel like, well, this is just how I am, or this is how I'm gonna be, and you stop in reinventing yourself. If you think about it, if my children stop that, if my children didn't reinvent themselves every day or discover anything every day, then you'd never learn. And there's all this quote unquote science out there, and I say science with quote unquote science because as a child's brain develops, it's very neuroplastic. There's a lot of new connections being made, and that's why they can learn a lot of things, etc. However, there have been studies that show that the same amount of fucking neuroplastics and neuroplasticity can happen as you age. People just stop trying.
Mm.
They just stop learning. They stop trying new things. They stop reinventing. And so you see these people that can learn parts of 35 or 40 languages. I love watching that where it's this like one of the guys I watch is this white kid, and he knows like 40 different languages, and he goes to all these different Asian communities and different countries, and he speaks their language, and they're like obviously floored, and it's very awesome. But I mean, if it was true that kids are the only ones who can learn new languages and learn new things, then nobody would be inventing anything as they get older. Nobody would
Mm.
be improving on anything as they get older. No businesses would be created because kids aren't going around creating fucking businesses. Maybe some of them now, but you probably are like 7 years old before you're fucking creating businesses. And that's very, very, very young on the low end. So extreme people out there who are listening, like, my kid has a lemonade stand. Was not a really not a real fucking business. Like it's just starting. Okay. Um, it's not. They're not running the fucking Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah. Till you get Joey's lemonade
Right.
on every
Yeah.
corner,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
Starbucks.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. Joe, you got one fucking stand, bro. Um, but it's okay to be reinventing yourself. It's you need to be, honestly. And again, that's how you grow. That's how you improve as a person. And you're absolutely right where as you learn your issues, as you learn your blind spots, everybody has blind spots. Everybody has things to work on and improve upon. And there's two sides of the coin when it comes to arguments if you listen to the entrepreneurs out there. Some people will say, well, don't worry about what you're not good at and only focus on what you're good at and blow that up. And there's a degree of that's truth. And then there is the argument that, well, you should know all your blind spots and try and find them and try and work on them to be a better person and a more well rounded person, which is also true. So I can't argue one way or another. My opinion is whatever makes the most fucking money and helps the most people, you do that. If you got something who's a unicorn over here and you're really fucking good at it and you could build a giant business really fast, then fuck all your other shit that you suck at. Just focus on that. Hire a bunch of people, hire a bunch of help, provide a bunch of money and opportunity and jobs for the economy, and do that. If you're okay at this or decent, and again, by learning your issues or learning what you have as your blind spots and improving those, you become a better person and then can grow a bigger business with bigger people and create more opportunities, then fucking do that. And really, it's
Mhm.
having some sort of uh, calmness to yourself and looking from the outside and thinking, okay, if I go in this direction, this will happen. If I go in this direction, this will happen. And then just going, just choosing a direction. You can be wrong. That's okay. That's part of reinvention and pivoting and saying, well, fuck, that didn't work. Let's move over here. And as you age in entrepreneurship, not physical age, yes, but age in entrepreneurship, you realize that a year, 6 months, 2 years, even 5 years is not a long time.
Mm-mm.
We're in this 5.5, almost 6 years now, and I compare myself to all my friends, and I'm like, fuck, we're not as good as them. We're not as big as them. We're not making as much money as them. I can't afford what they can't afford, etc. And then, they talk on their podcasts. Oh, Andy Frisella has been doing his business for 20 something fucking years. And it's like, holy shit, like 20, 25 years, I think, or something like that. And I've been in it almost 6. It's like, fuck, 25 years? I can't imagine what's going on in 25 years. And some of my business partners, Brent's been in it for 15 years. And then, Mike in Accesso Biologics has been in it kind of the same amount of time as I have, and their business has taken off. That business that I own with him, that's taken off really in the last 2 years, if that, really last year. Like we've been in it, they've been in it like 3 or 4 years, and it's like fuck. Okay, we always compare ourselves to the bigger, but then
Mhm.
time is also an aspect to that as well.
I was just thinking about that this morning, actually, because I was like, there's just nothing like I started out in skin,
Hmm.
which was making me think about it yesterday because I went to the skincare convention here in Dallas. And so I've just kind of been like thinking a lot about skin and how much I, love skincare, which is, why I got into it 23 years ago now. And how my whole life has had some aspect of skincare, whether it be makeup, permanent makeup, our aesthetics aspect to Genesis and health and wellness in general affect and impact the skin in a huge way. And so it was just thinking about that. Like it's been, 23 years of me in this process. And yeah, I could have went to college to learn the business side of things, but I love skin. I got into skin. I did whatever I could in regards to some aspect of skincare and beauty for
Hmm.
the last 23 years. And I think the things that I have learned, you can't learn in school. Like it takes time. You have to have hands-on experience to get there.
Yep. Oh,
Wherever there is. I
that's
mean, because
100%
I
true.
think about like another 20 years from now. I
Yeah.
mean, where's that? What's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Because
I
I have so much more to learn.
I have a MBA in healthcare business administration, and it really did not help at all running a business. Like fucking at all. Not a single thing that I learned from there actually helped.
Mm.
And people think it does. And it's like, okay, cool. Unless you're going and getting your MBA or your degree from someone who has been there, done that, retired. I think, Harvard used to have a program, and Brent and I have talked about it a few times that we were going to take it. And I think they stopped it actually, where they had an MBA program that you can take, and it was 2 years, hyper intensive. And the teachers and the students had to have built something like a 10-figure company. So they had to have been making more than $10 million a year minimum, and their profits had to be at least $5 million a year minimum. So their EBITDA had to be $5 million a year minimum, and those were the like they checked and made sure, and those
Mm.
are the requirements to teach the class and get into the class. So those are that is a class or that's an MBA that's worth it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, most of the time, your business degree on how to run a business is going to be taught by a $40,000 a year fucking professor who has never done it at
Mhm.
all, or done it and failed, and they had to go to $40,000 a year teaching full time. They're not your tenured professor that just shows up and does like one class a quarter and teaches because they're running a real fucking business.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's things evolve so quickly as we're talking about reinventing yourself, reinventing in general, business, personal. There's so many things that evolve that it's like you have to have those individual experiences to know what to do in that scenario. And then you have that one, and then you got to have another one to know what to do in that scenario. So it's like,
Yep.
there's no way. I mean, even there's no way to know all the aspects that you would need to know just from school. It has to come from experience. And yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because I was thinking about that today as well. But how do you get clear on something that you feel like it's time to reinvent this aspect of myself? Like, what happens for you when you have that moment of knowing?
I think when you have that moment of knowing, you write it down. I mean, I have a list of things that I have to improve upon or need to review myself personally. And then when I have time, I try and get around to it. Like s- learning how to speak Spanish better. That's one thing that's recently because my kids are outpacing me in their ability to speak Spanish. They're much more fluent than am, and they know a lot better words. And at the same time, I'm speaking really poorly to them, so I don't want them to learn really poor Spanish.
Mm.
So I know I need to put that as a forefront so that I can make sure I keep up with my kids, communicate with them, and have them grow personally. So I put that on my list of things to do, and I make sure that I dedicate some time to it every week and probably every day until I'm better at it. Same with business strategy. I mean, look around. What are the things that you have to look at your business and yourself from a third party? One of the biggest things is when we started to talk to private equity groups in general through our companies, we started to realize that the private equity group is obviously auditing our leadership in general, my leadership in general. So I need to start thinking that way. I need to step out and be a third party without feelings and look at myself and how I'm interacting here or what I'm doing here or how I'm doing here and say, would that
Mm.
be acceptable if I was my own boss? And if you're not doing that, then you're obviously never going to get to the next level. You just won't because people act in a certain way or do certain things without their thought of, hey, what is their boss going to say about this? Or what is the next level going to say about this? And that's how you level up is you either ask them or you try and think, okay, boss wants me to do X, Y, and Z or complete X, Y, and Z. What's the best way to do it? Or what are some gaps in my knowledge in order for me to get in a better limelight of my boss? And people might think, well, that's just sucking up to your boss. Yeah, that's how you fucking win. Like, yeah, being a kiss ass and doing what your boss wants you to do and doing beyond what your
Yeah.
boss wants you to do, that may be called a kiss ass to people who fucking fail and will be on the same, I don't know, assembly line for 25 years and then expect a fucking, welcome at the end. It's like, and I'll get, people might hate me for this comment, but it's like those people who retire from a McDonald's or a Burger King after 40 years and people are mad that they don't get like this giant bonus at the end of their life or a car bought for them or something and the business just says thank you for your efforts. And I 100% wholeheartedly believe that people should be thanked for their efforts. They get paid for their job. They get bonuses. They get every once in a while, we have events and stuff like that that they can go to, etc. But if you're at the same exact position 40 years later, you shouldn't get a fucking trophy for that. You shouldn't. 40 years of doing the same fucking thing, you shouldn't get a fucking trophy for that. You shouldn't get some giant reward for that. You did the same thing for 40 years, which means for 40 years, you never got better. Period. You never improved yourself. Period. You never wanted anything more than that, period. And people argue, well, that's just what I want. Okay, fine. Like you don't have to be around me and you don't have to be in my businesses. But those people who want to succeed, who want to grow, who want to improve, which is the people fucking listening to this, then you better look at yourself from a third point of view and say, if I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing for 5 years straight and
Mhm.
I'm worse off, then there's something I should fucking change about what I'm doing right now. And I see some entrepreneur colleagues, I won't even call them friends, they do this. They're 5 years down the line and they're in a worse position than they were 5 years ago, still talking shit.
Mm.
Still being like, we're going to be the best fucking business in the world and we're taking over and I'm launching this new program and I'm doing this new thing and I'm doing this new thing. And it's like, you have a fucking problem, dude. Look at yourself and think, hey, I am worse off now than I was 5 years ago. Or I am worse off now than I was 1 year ago. What the fuck am I doing wrong? And auditing and then just changing it. That's what should be in your head. So that's why, like, people are like, well, I don't know what I don't know. Yes, to a degree, but if you don't know what you don't know, it's because you're fucking lazy and you just don't look at yourself from a third party point of view.
Well, and then you have the people that stay in kind of that reflection phase. Because we have another podcast on this actually coming up too, on action and how important action is. But reinvention, there's a sense of taking a look at yourself, and whether that comes from outside feedback, because I think that's good to get to. There are things that I don't remember, is Johari's window, I think it's called, where it's a blind spot. Like, it's the me that other people see.
Interesting.
Then there's the me that I see. And then there's a me that's like nobody sees, but there's, it's there. But the whole point, I think there's 4 quadrants to it. But there's 4 aspects. And the one is to recognize that there are, it's the me that me and other people see. And then there's the me that only other people see, that are blind. Those are our blind spots. So it is good to ask people that you trust, I've thought about this before. You don't go ask somebody who's never done marketing, hey, what do you think about this marketing plan?
Right. Yeah. It's that unsolicited business advice from people who have never run a fucking business.
Or even solicited. Like, why are you asking your auntie in Oklahoma what she thinks about your logo? Yeah. Like, she doesn't know anything about that,
she's never fucking done anything.
No hate on Oklahoma if you're from Oklahoma and you're listening to this.
Aunties from Oklahoma are going to rise up.
But asking people that you really value, where they've come from and stuff. And so I have a couple girlfriends that are high level, high achieving, successful women in business. They work for themselves. A couple work for themselves and a couple work for other corporations, but they're very high up. And I will ask, like, hey, this is how I'm dealing with something. This is what my thoughts are. Like, what am I not seeing here? What is it about my personality or what I can improve on? Obviously it comes from love. So when you're asking for that, it's like, what can I do to get better? It's good to get feedback from the people around you or even your bosses. Like, ask. I mean, if anything, it's like, that's a great way to get a promotion too. Hey, how can I be better at this? What else do you need from me? Like, what do you see that I need to do? And you do this to me sometimes too, because I'm like visioning like where we're going to be in 2 years. We can do this, we can build this. And I do like to live in that space because it gives me something that I'm like seeing the bigger picture and working toward. And sometimes you're like, okay, hold the fort, like, yep, we'll do that when this happens. And I'm like, okay, got it. So,
and it's good to have that back and forth, because there will be those types of people who are visionaries, true visionaries, and they see 5, 6, 10 years down the line all those ideas and everything. And then you have to balance that with an integrator who is more of a realist. Like, okay, that's great and all. How you going to fucking afford that? That's cool. Like, great ideas. I wish we could all drive around in Bugattis, but how the fuck are you going to get there? It's a cool idea. So you definitely have to balance that. And that requires, again, like you're saying, crowdsourcing from people who are doing better than you or you want to be like. You shouldn't be crowdsourcing from anyone other than that. And that is one thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, is that when they'll come to me on certain questions or at an event that I'm at, they say, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, but my spouse says, nah, we should do this. Or my friend says we should do this. Or my, again, aunt in Oklahoma says I should do this. And my first question is, okay, has your spouse or your aunt in Oklahoma or whoever you're talking about, have they built what you're trying to build? Yes? Okay, follow their advice. No? Why the fuck are you asking them?
Yeah.
You should not be asking them. If they don't, you want to be a great father, you should be asking great fathers how they fucking are great fathers. You want to be efficient at what you do. Ask somebody who literally schedules everything in their life and is extremely efficient at what they do, how they do it. That was one of the things I want to be better at in efficiency of like content creation is they have those stories and I want to study the way he does it. God, he was a pro skater and now he does ridiculousness. What's his name?
Oh, Rob Diedrich.
Rob Diedrich. He is meticulous on his lifestyle in his recordings, and he's what you would say, quote unquote, balanced, but people have no fucking clue what that means. So I really don't want to say that word on this podcast. But he's balanced in that he has quality time scheduled with his family every single day, but at the same time, the dude records like 350 episodes of ridiculousness in a few months' time. And it's because of the way like his schedule is. Like he'll go to the studio and record just fucking straight, like on point for like 4 hours a day. And it gets him, 6 episodes or 8 episodes or something like that. Like, and he's just so meticulous in how he does his content that he pumps it out like crazy. Hormozy, their team pumps out 340 pieces of content and posts at least 340 pieces of content a week, every week.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a ton. So again, meticulous. He's not recording 24/7. So it's like, how is he doing that? How is he pumping that out that I could help our team? I could help Mason figure that out and like build a team that can do that. How did Rob do it with his lifestyle? Or, Andy Frisella, a good buddy of mine, he's built a multi-billion-dollar supplement brand with affiliates and direct marketing and all that stuff. So what are the steps that he had to learn to get to that level? Like, what did he have to, because it's not just externally, it's not just in your business, internally. I would say it has to be externally for you to be able to operate at an extremely high level as well. So that's what a lot of people in businesses and entrepreneurs forget, is that it's not just internally in the business that you have to fix as you grow or improve or reinvent as you grow. It's outside of the business what you have to do as well. What do you have to put around your lifestyle or build into your lifestyle or create in your lifestyle or schedule in your lifestyle that allows you to be highly successful in multiple areas of life? And those are things that if you look at the most powerful, wealthiest people, they all have their thing that's allowed them to get to that level. If you want to go very extreme, it's Elon Musk and the amount of private flights that he has he has a jet that flies him around and he takes something ridiculous, like 2,000 flights a year. 2,000 flights a year. That means he's on a plane
3-4 times a day.
3-4 times a day sometimes.
No, I think even more than that.
Yeah, within a 24-hour period. It's something egregious in terms of number. And at the same time, we looked that up.
Be like 6, like mental math. It'd be like 6, 365 times 6.
Like how much? It might not be 2,000, but it's something egregious. Look up how many times Elon Musk like flies within a.
It's like the way we drive a car.
Yeah, it's the way we drive a car. It literally is. But at the same time, then he's going and he has like a cot set up in each of his headquarters that he goes to, and that's where he sleeps. And that's where he showers. Okay, so I was way off, but he's on a flight on average almost every day.
Yeah,
on average. Well, I was way fucking off with that. But at the same time,
fact check.
Yeah, fact check. There you go.
Good job, Mason.
Yeah, well done, Mason. At the same time, though, he's scheduled his life around where he's going to be. Like he's got his cot there. He's got his thing. Obviously, the little things that you think about that. You probably he doesn't worry about, but I have to figure out is like, what's his food situation?
Yeah, I was thinking that he's got to just like eat.
Yeah, what's his food? What's his food?
Well, he's
situation?
probably got
like, what's his
favorite foods at every place or something.
Oh, yeah, somebody's cooking for him. Like,
yeah,
I'm probably traveling with him cooking for him. Some of the
I'd
guys
be so down for that.
Some people who are highly successful, like The Rock. Everybody knows who's followed him at all. Everybody knows he has his gym, which is called the Iron Paradise. That gets moved and built wherever he is. If he's filming somewhere, literally the gym is moved and built there. If he is, working on X, Y, and Z, the gym is literally moved and fucking built where it goes before him, and then he goes, and wherever he lands, he's straight into the iron paradise. Like it's planned out that way, and that's what makes him highly successful. Same with his food. His food is he's got a cook that literally follows the macros from his coach, no matter what he's doing, and cooks exactly what is supposed to be cooked for him. Period. He doesn't have to worry about that. And again, I'm talking about extremes when you get to that level. But when you do get to that level, you can afford the next level. You should be focusing on what are the things you can do to take off your plate that allow you to be even more successful in what you're doing. And so that's part of the reflection is like, okay, I know how to do, let's say you're back down to realistic jobs. We'll say we're not Elon, we're not The Rock, we're not these businesses. We're just a salesperson in a sales position. Okay, like what am I really good at in sales? What am I bad at in sales? And reviewing, and you really don't know that until you start to ask the questions, until you start to journal. Like, hey, I tried to close this person with this close, didn't work. I'm going to try this close next time. Try the next close. Didn't work. I'm going to try this close next time. Try the next close. That worked. Okay. I'm going to try this close a few more times. That works. That works. That works. Okay, good. Then you start to follow and create a system based off reflection. And again, you don't know what you don't know until you start going and looking for what you don't know. Asking people who are better than you, watching YouTube videos. There are fucking millions of YouTube videos that are uploaded monthly to YouTube on almost anything nowadays. Meditation, leadership, how to blank, choose. It's fucking there on YouTube. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Go learn it. Go get better in your specific position. I don't know how to manage people. Okay, fucking, I'm sure how to manage people better in YouTube. Like, look, type in how to manage people in YouTube and tell me how many videos there are that just pop up that are even remotely related to that. I almost called you Stefan. Sorry, Mason. Mason has such a great mustache versus Stefan. Stefan still looks like a 12-year-old boy.
Mason's hair.
Oh, there you go. Hormozy's the only one. Look, does it say the number at the top? Like, does it like YouTube, Google does? No, he's just scrolling. He's scrolling forever. That should tell you right there. There's at least fucking 100 on there. I'll tell you that much in terms of management from all different types of people. Like you said, Hormozy or Grant Cardone at 10X, or I'm sure Bedros Keuilian is on there. I'm sure there's
so many.
Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort, Simon Sinek, all sorts of like how to manage. I'm sure there's Ken Blanchard stuff on there, even though Ken's dead, like books and lessons from him that other people have taught. So
that's interesting. The first place to start if you want to learn how to manage people is type in how to manage myself.
Yeah.
Because that's where it starts.
That's a good one. Yeah, literally, how to manage myself, how to get my life better, how to get shit more in order.
Then you get better at managing other people. But the thing I hear you talking about, though, is that second aspect is implementing. They're doing it. Because you could get stuck in the journal reflection phase, and people do. But where they're just never doing it, where it makes a difference is when you implement the changes. So you have to be willing, like we're talking about reinventing on a broad scale, but reinventing your processes, your systems, your plan every single day. Like, hey, that didn't work for me. I did not get the result I wanted. So even though I've been saying it this way for however long, if I'm not getting the result I want, I got to reinvent. What do I need to say? How do I need to say it? Like, let me try that. And being willing to change every single day, or not even just every day, but moment by moment. Like if you got off a call and you killed it, write exactly what you did and do that again, and see if you can get some data around what's working or what isn't. Yeah. And that's the value of SOPs, which I know is like a huge factor in Genesis and, how you grow and scale a company is writing down what works, and it's like SOPs are great in the sense of having other people replicate what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, uh, there's also an aspect of this is how I've always done it and being stuck in that. So
Right.
like, how does that play out?
Yeah, that answer, this is how it's always been, is I tell the staff all the time that should never be a answer when somebody asks why. We should always be asking why we do this. And then there's a great quote from Elon Musk who talks about this. If you're not cutting enough steps out that you fucked up and you have to add steps back in, then you aren't making your process lean enough.
Mm.
And the number one mistake that people make is leaning out and improving processes that shouldn't even be a process in the fucking first place. So if you look at your processes and you're like, well, we got to lean this out and do X, Y, and Z and stuff. Well, and you look at the end result and you're like, well, the end result isn't what we really needed. Then why are you leaning it out in the first place? Just fucking get rid of it. And
Mm.
I've had to rip up SOPs. I've had to change my calendar the way I set it up, and I have to cut people out. I've had to hire people and put people in different positions. But you're right, where the reflection is good. That will get you so far, but then you have to execute. Those SOPs are important. One of the things that I learned from people who are much better than me at connecting, so connectors, people who make the most money out of anybody on earth are connectors. This has been studied. The more people you know, the more money you'll make. There's just a direct correlation to that. Obviously, if you just know a bunch of fucking losers, that's not going to help you out. I'm talking about in business. The more business people you know, the more money you make. And that has rang true. So what I try and do now is when I go to an event or when I go to dinner or when I go somewhere, I make sure I get at least one person's like contact information in my phone, and then I text them like what I do and the whatever we talked about in that, so that I have that connection and I have their connection in my mind as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then I follow up with them and I do a business lunch or a business meeting or a dinner because I know that we can mutually benefit each other. I don't do it to random people that I meet and then it's like, we got really nothing in common and can't really help each other out. I'm not going to go to dinner with you. But that has been something that I like essentially is my SOP. Like I'm going to go into this like dinner or event or whatever, which I usually fucking hate. And I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to meet one person. I'm going to talk to them about what they do. I'm going to find out about what they do. I'm going to see how that connects to what I do. And the one person who I have a connection with at any business, with any potential business, I'm going to make sure I get their information. They're going to get my information. And I'm going to, text them exactly what I'd like to meet them about or talk to them about. And then I'm going to follow up on that. And that
Mm-hmm.
has allowed me to make more and more and more connections when it comes to really anything. It could be anything. So it doesn't just have to be in business. You could do that with outside. We could do that with friends or other salespeople or whatever. Like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm in high ticket sales for cars. Okay, well, if you're in sales in the medical field, I'm sure that person could teach you a few fucking tricks. Like, hey, I'd love to talk with you and learn some of the tricks you have, or I'll teach you some of the tricks I have. So that, because then you're not competition, you're in two totally different fucking fields working for totally different people. But you can learn how they close sales. There's a big difference between closing a $100,000 vehicle and closing a $10,000 ED package. I mean, that they obviously probably know some good things at that level
Mm-hmm.
to come down and teach you to close that $10,000 package.
Well, that training that I'm in, the sales training I referred to earlier in the podcast, what the first lever of this 7-step process is shared experiences,
Mm-hmm.
which is where you build relationship capital. And he talks about that a lot. And so I've been thinking about that too. So yesterday I went to the skincare convention and I'm like, okay, like some of this stuff doesn't fit, but it's good to see what's going on. But what's one person I can follow up with? And that's part of it. It's like you're at these conventions or meetings or conferences or whatever. That's a shared experience. So building on that to create the relationships leads to more sales calls, more sales, so on and so forth. So it's super valuable. And I think it's a little underrated because we can get really focused on like, what do I want? What am I doing? And like have all the attention here versus like having the attention out, which is what you're saying, like finding out what does somebody else do and having enough of those conversations to find somebody that has something that can connect with what you do. But you have to be curious. You have to actually care about what's going on with other people in the world
Yeah,
when you're at those events.
absolutely.
Yeah.
100% you have to.
So you have to want to
Yeah.
make those
You have to want to,
connections.
which you should be part of life. You need to make an effort to do that. You need to make an effort to reach out. So you've been reinventing yourself lately. What was like one thing that you felt like you had to reinvent or felt like outdated, but you had been too comfortable to like change until now?
I feel like being the one dictating the direction has been something I've done for a long time. Like
Mhm.
I haven't until I came on to Genesis and became part of, the corporate team where it really wasn't my decision. Everything we're doing is, not my decision. Obviously, there's a collaboration when you have a business, you have got other people involved, but ultimately that final decision or direction lands with the CEO, the co-CEOs, it lands with you and Brent.
Mhm.
And so, there are certain ways I would do things that is not how we do it, but it's like, it's not really my place. It's not, it's so recognizing that like I can have a certain way of doing things, but in this role I'm in, being falling under leadership, your leadership, Brent's leadership, that's where I'm at right now.
Mhm.
And there's value in that. I'm learning a lot. The experiences that we've had over the last several years, the growth that we've had, it's been incredible. It also is helping me to see like, okay, maybe I would do it this way, but doing it that way also worked.
Mhm.
So letting go of the idea that I got to run the ship,
Mhm.
I think has left the change that's happened is like I was running the ship for a long time and I had teams that I led. And then coming on board and it being you guys that I'm under, obviously in like a respectful way, like it's,
Mhm.
I'm under your leadership. And now I feel like having both aspects of that has prepared for what's next. And the what's next is partnership between the three of us,
Right.
where that's going to feel a little bit different. So I really had to let go of that old version, because to get to where I'm at now, I feel like I had to experience that second phase. And
Yeah.
so where we're headed now together, I've had to let go of, two versions, because this is the one 2 versions ago. And then this one currently that's kind of getting let go of to enter into this new phase of business that we're starting. So yeah, it's, I would say, been a 5-year process for sure. That was kind of goes back to my question: how many lifetimes do you feel like you've lived? Because I've been thinking about that. I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes.
Right.
Partially because I also have been married several times. so,
There you go.
so with every marriage, it's a totally different life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually heard Esther Perel. So I find people that have been married a long time, so I'm still trying to figure that part out in
Mhm.
my life. But I think Sean's a keeper, so
There you go.
hopefully that one will just last forever.
Right.
Even though we're not married, that's
Yeah.
yeah. But she says you'll be married. On average, people are married to 5 people in their lifetime.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of if you do it with the same person.
Okay.
And I think that's so accurate
That's a great point.
because I have been 5 different people,
Yep.
at least in these relationships. And so I think, had I been with the same person the whole time, they would have experienced all these 5 people.
Yep.
And so, yeah, anyway, I just did it with all different people.
Yeah.
Where you're doing it
There
all
you
with
go.
the same
Yeah, for now. Yeah. I am. Hopefully, hopefully that doesn't cause any
So,
issues. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yes, that
But
when
you're
it comes
right.
to
You're right. You go
reinventing.
through different, and it's interesting. Tying that to actually reading books is I've got the same 20, 30 books on my bookshelf, and every once in a while I'll open an old one and read it again. And every time you read it, you always get out of it what that decade of life or that year of life is giving you.
Mm,
So you can read a book 20 different times. It's not like, and I'm not talking children's book, The Land Before Time or shit like that, which although and when you're a kid, it's a much different story than when you're an adult. But things like that, you're going to get something out of it that's different every single time you read it or every time you read these books. So you don't have to read 70 billion books. You just got to get out of
mm.
what's in that decade. And you're right. It's totally different because you're different. Your experiences are different, et cetera. And you have to level up and change your mindset in every different position. So you can't get stuck in, if you want to have a marriage or relationship that lasts forever, you can't have the mindset that you probably had in your first marriage. You can't. It's got to be a different mindset or a different setup. You can't have the same mindset as a partner in business that you had as a executive or as a just a salesperson in another business. You have to level up if you want to be in that position. You have to have that mindset. So reinvention starts by asking, like, what do I believe, and then what do I want to become, and learning about that position and learning about what you personally need to do in order to get there.
Yeah, I think for women, it's interesting too, because it's especially like there's a lot of pressure to, mm, to like act like a leader. There's this Emma. She is the founder of Good American, or she's co-founder of Good American
Mm-hmm.
and Skims. She's like all over podcasts right now. So she must have been doing like a tour. She's getting ready to start her own podcast. So I'm thinking like a PR,
Oh yeah.
thing where
Mm-hmm.
she's connecting so she can launch her own podcast. Pretty
Yeah.
smart, actually.
Yeah.
But it's like I think people listen. She's great. I love her message. I definitely connect with a lot of it. But people think women especially think they need to act like a leader without actually believing that they are one. And there's this misconception about leadership that like what a female leader is like. And it's like being being feminine but being a leader, I think, is different than this idea of leadership. So I think that's something when it comes to women who have grown or started to kind of create something, like build something for themselves, is to recognize that this idea of leadership, or what the world's putting out there on about leadership from a female perspective, like you have to kind of let all that go and create or invent yourself as a female leader that's true to you. Like you can be soft and strong. Like you can be both aspects. And I think that women, especially when it comes to like social media, because they put so much stuff, there's so much stuff out there that sways like one direction, and it's kind of being kind of bitchy in
Mm-hmm.
leadership. Like you have to be willing to like let go of all those ideas of what somebody else is saying you need to be, and whether it's reinvent or deliberately invent yourself as the leader that you want to be, that you see yourself as. And what does that look like? Like how do you step into a place to be who you're meant to be? And you can be in leadership. Like she talks a lot about she's got 4 kids and what aspects of life she had to put in place to be able to have 4 kids, be a mom, build these businesses, and they're multi-billion-dollar businesses. So she's got a lot, and she's now doing the podcast. So what does that look like for her life? And it's like, what is who are you meant to be as a female, and
Mhm.
deliberately deciding that and invent that person, because it's not just like, if you've never done it before, you have to create what it is for you and then take the steps and adjust along the way, but you have to decide who you're inventing yourself to be. And
Right.
I think that's been a part of the reinvention process for myself. And as we move into the skincare and launching the skincare line, Sature, it's really about, European inspiration. I'm 99.9% European. And so going back to my roots, what does it feel like to just be naturally beautiful?
Mhm.
Like, when you see this beautiful glowing skin and you see these women that are just like effortlessly gorgeous, like what if we all just felt that way? Not that you have to be a supermodel, but like, what if we just all felt effortlessly gorgeous? Like,
Mhm.
great skin, I think, is the start of that. So it's like, instead of having 200 products you have to choose from, we're launching with 3 items that does like 10 things. Like, you can do a lot more with less stuff. And who did, how am I inventing myself now in that aspect of business? And it's like, I was looking at pictures from Vegas, and I had big lips and my
Mhm.
eyebrows were super dark and fake lashes and long nails and, big fake hair and
Mhm.
all the things. And it's like deliberately deciding, going into this phase of leadership and being the CEO of the skincare line, and like, what's that message and who is it that I am deliberately that connects with the business that I want to have, because people are going to see if there's a disconnect. If I'm saying like, oh, it's about natural beauty and the basics and all this stuff, but I still have big fake lips and fake eyelashes, they're going to be like, but you get all this other stuff done. Is it
Mhm.
really that? So like,
Right.
it's got to match. And I think for women, there can be a lot of confusion in this space. And so it's like shifting the mindset to, what does everybody else think I need to be successful or be this person, to who am I deliberately deciding to show up as, so that I can reinvent myself or invent myself, even if it's the first time, invent myself in this new way so that I can have what I say that I want.
Yep. And that leads into 100% our last point, which is reinvention is essentially a test of courage. You're becoming somebody totally different and you're doing it on your own account and you don't know if it's going to work or not. So every leap you're going to make, it should scare you. It should be like, well, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I need to be this type of person or I need to change these things about life. So in my life, from, you know, being in going to school on the East Coast to playing soccer in Europe to then doing medical school and then residency all over the country, or medical school all over the country, residency in Palm Springs, and then my job, and then leaving my job to build the business, and then doing multiple businesses. It's always been worry. It's always been a little bit of fear, but that's part of the courage. Reinventing yourself takes courage. And that's, I think, why a lot of people don't want to do it, is that reinvention requires you to be vulnerable and just be out there and realize that you're going to fail. And that is extremely, extremely important, though. I know great entrepreneurs that ask their kids at the end of the day, like, how did you fail today? And then celebrate that. That was something that is a common theme of the Robinsons, a Disney movie that I've talked about before, where they always talk about failure and how failure is really good. Kanye West said in an interview that his mom always talked about failure and made it normal at the dinner table every single night.
Mm.
And all these different people are icons in their field and what we do, Disney and Kanye and whatever, whether you like them or hate them or what, all the politics aside, they reinvented not only themselves, but everything around them as a result of that. And obviously that had to be fearful. That had to be scary at some fucking point in time. Absolutely, it did to do that. It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to improve yourself or be different, like you're talking about. It takes courage to let your silver hair grow out, like we talked about, or take out your extensions, or change what stop doing the Botox and the fillers and all that. That takes courage. but you need to do that in order to reinvent yourself. You have to.
Yeah. Where do you feel like people could benefit massively if they were willing to reinvent themselves?
Just everywhere. Like it isn't. I mean,
All of it.
it's like it's literally fucking all of it. That's how you grow. You
Yeah.
have to reinvent yourself to grow in order to do better at your job, in order to get a management position, in order to make more money. You have to reinvent yourself. As a business owner, you have to reinvent the product. And reinvent doesn't mean it has to be completely fucking different than anything that anybody has ever seen ever in the history of mankind. Reinvention means, is your service or your quality better than anybody else out there? That's a reinvention of that field. And if you solve that problem, you're going to make more money. At home, if you had terrible parenting, then you reinvent yourself and what you saw, and reinventing yourself and saying, I'm not going to be that same person, is being a better father, being a better mother, or husband, wife, whatever. Looking at that, reinvention improves all aspects of your life. And sometimes you'll fail, yes, but that, again, is part of life and part of growing, in that, like, you should be trying to reinvent almost everything that you do, and until obviously it's working at a very high level. Then there's plenty of other stuff to work on, because humans aren't perfect. They're fucking not. Nobody's fucking perfect. So you always have something to work on. 100%. You always have something to improve upon. There's nothing that you should ever sit down and say, you know what? I'm done. Like, there's nothing else I can get better at because I'm the best in the world at everything. It's not fucking true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I feel like I approach myself with a lighthearted curiosity. Like, why did I say this thing? Could I have said it different? Well, one of the things that I've been noticing about my communication that sucks, I think, is I ask questions but don't really ask questions. Like,
Okay.
I will say, like, I'll tell Isaac, so you had a good time? So it's like a question, but it's not really a question, because I'm not asking if he had a good time. I'm
Right.
projecting out that he had a good time. So what is he going to say? And it's very uncomfortable to disagree with people.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, no, actually it sucked. Like, most people are just gonna be like, yeah, it was good, and move on. But it's like, I'm not really asking him if he had a good time at something. So I do that a lot. And I told the guys at the house, I'm like, listen, I do this. I want to get better at it. If I do it and I catch myself, I'm going to stop and I'm going to rephrase it. And then I will ask you the question again.
There you go.
Because I've been doing this for, 40 years.
Yeah.
So might take a minute to like shift, but I find it's kind of fun, and they laugh at me now. I'm like, wait, don't answer me. Let me rephrase that. And then I re-ask in an actual question.
Yeah.
And then, it's lighthearted, and it's, opens up a dialogue, and it's actually created better communication. But I'm noticing that even in like text I send, like fragmented thoughts. And I'm like, what am I even saying?
Right.
But just getting better at my communication and being more direct and stuff. But I find
Absolutely.
it's fun if you cannot take yourself so seriously,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like you told me the one day, I hate when you text me like that.
Yeah.
So now I've done pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'll catch myself. Shit, I sent the picture before the caption.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well.
I hate people that do that. Like, because there was a text this morning, somebody complaining about an issue. So I immediately reached out and tried to solve the issue. And they're like, well, I don't have time to solve it right now. Well, then don't fucking text me about it. Don't.
Yeah.
Like, unless, don't. And then number 2, the rule is, like, if you're going to text me a problem, also have solutions following the problem, and just put it in one fucking text. Because as a leader, as an entrepreneur, at running multiple businesses, I don't have fucking time to read your mind. Like, and it's the same with, it should be the same with if you're texting anybody. They don't have time to read your fucking mind.
Mm-hmm.
So be very succinct and direct in your text messaging or in your messaging or in your questioning, like you're talking about, so that you don't waste anybody's fucking time. Because realize, like, we got 80 something years on Earth. That's not a lot of fucking time. So wasting it asking dumb questions or half-assed questions or coming up with something and then saying, well, I don't have time to fix it. Fucking why? Then don't bring it up because it's not a problem right now. Because if you bring it up right now, I'm going to try and fix it. That's the fucking job of the CEO. That's the job of the leader. You bring up a problem and I fix it right then and there because I got 75 other people in line waiting for their problems to be solved.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something, and I like that. It's important.
Yeah. That's one area I'm working on reinventing myself right now. Do you have something like that you feel like you said learning Spanish. That was one thing.
Well, learning Spanish, but from a business standpoint, I 5.5, 6 years ago, I was very harsh in everything, right? And then I calmed down. And then I think I calmed down too much. And just people have been allowed to slide and do whatever the fuck they want and everything because there aren't consequences for lines drawn in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I do, I would say the fitter I get and the more businesses I have and the more money I make, the less time I have for anybody's fucking horseshit at all. At all. It's just quickly I'm fixing the fact that, okay, these people have had chance after chance after chance after chance. Let them be. It's like, no, at this point, cut them out and replace them. I don't care. And people who complain, you want to complain? You're cut out. I'll replace you. I don't care. It's not that you're a bad person. It's just that I don't have time to deal with your bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So the less bullshit that you bring to me and the more that you are successful in your position that I hired you for, you're never going to hear from me because I'm going to say, great job. Here's your pay, here's your bonus, and here's your part of Genesis and growing this company, or you're part of Accesso and growing this company, or you're part of any of the companies that I run and you're doing a great job, or you're not and you don't belong here. So reinventing that right now is that, like, I not only have to call people out on their bullshit and just say, this is not how we do things anymore, and I don't care whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same point, I have to be in that level that I am outrunning all of them. So I can't just tell people what to do. I have to work harder and be better than all of them combined because that's my position. That's what I have to be. And so I can't just tell these people do this, this, and this. I have to help them solve that problem or work harder than them or build faster than them or do whatever I need to do in order for them to achieve their dreams and outpace them, learn faster than them, learn more than them, do everything that they can do better. That's my job. And I might not be able to do that in certain positions. I shouldn't be able to do that in certain positions because they dedicate their day every single day to that position. So they should be better than me. So if they're not better than me, they shouldn't be in that position. Period.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. So that's really what I've been working on right now is that in order for us to get to the next level, I have to be a next level person. And then I have to surround myself with next level people. And if they can't get to that next level, then I'll just find somebody else. That's it.
Wow, so good. Great conversation. And if you listen to this and got something out of it, connect with Dr. Alex on Instagram. Dr. Alex.
Do that again. You sound so bored on the outro.
I'm bored.
You sound so bored on the outro. Like, if you, whatever.
Wow, that was so good.
Yeah, don't be fake, but you're like, this is fucking the end of this is terrible. Should have put some explosions in there. Yeah.
You should totally leave all of this in there. This all should be left in. Okay, take 2. That was a really good conversation. I'm super glad that we had it. And I'll do one of the things that I actually don't like at all, but Tony Robbins claps all the time. And we are out on a high today.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
So anyway, yes, if you got something valuable out of that and you want to connect, do so with Dr. Alex Spinoso on Instagram or on his website, dralexspinoso.com. Also check out joincharismatics.com. incredible stuff. I've seen you guys posting about it. I mean, the takeaways and the testimonials you guys are putting out on Instagram are incredible. So if you're curious about that, check that out too. And you also have free courses. So even if somebody's just curious and they're wanting to look up more about what you offer in a cool kind of outline and course way, you can check that out on dralexspinoso.com/free courses. So there's a lot that you offer. This is just one of the many podcasts. Share, like, subscribe, and make sure you tune in next time because we're going to continue these impactful conversations.
And post some reviews. How many reviews we have? Like 5, 6? Post some reviews.
Do we have reviews?
Unless you fucking hate us. Don't post reviews unless you hate us. Put some 5-star reviews on there and put some respect on it. Go reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Talk about my new haircut.
There you go. Talk about Amanda's new haircut on the videos.